Hello class, this is Professor McDonald, and this will be a course introduction video / audio tape. I'll make it brief. I just wanted to touch on some of the highlights and the course expectations in this class and introduce you to the course shell on Canvas. If you haven't used Canvas, many of you already have had that opportunity, so you're familiar with how to manipulate and get the information you need out of this new learning management system. But if not, I have, when you look at the syllabus, I've put some hyperlinks in that'll access you and familiarize you with the system. I'm also going to just cover some of the basics and how I've tried to set this class up as simple as I can to make your experience much more simpler, so you can worry about Homeland Security and not how to extract data or how to access information in Canvas. But you got to work with it a little bit. It's been a challenge for us as instructors as well, migrating all of our course materials. In this particular class, because we have a brand new textbook, I just actually got my textbook about a week ago. So fortunately, they have changed quite a bit, so I've had to kind of hustle to get this book, get this course updated. But it's very welcome because the last textbook that these folks put out was about 6 years ago, so it was getting pretty dated. Interesting too, you can get the electronic version of the textbook if you like that, but there's a loose leaf edition is what they're putting out, so you actually have to get a little 3-ring binder and to put this in. I had to do the same thing. I didn't get anything different than you did. The good thing is it's a lot cheaper. So this textbook is going to be a lot less expensive than some of the others, and that seems to be where these publishers are going to try to, I guess, help save the environment, that sort of thing. Again, this is Homeland Security CRJ 4200. When you listen to this tape, I also want you to have the syllabus handy, and it might not be a bad idea to read the syllabus first, print it out, download it, whatever, and then listen to the tape. That's up to you. I've got my information relative to how to contact me. Since this is a fully online class, the best way to reach me is online. Many of you have had classes with me before, and you know that I am diligent in getting back to students. I check my emails multiple times a day, including when I'm traveling. So that is really the best way to get me. If you need to talk to me in person, just call my phone number that I've listed in the syllabus. Normally I'm not sitting in the office. I'm either teaching or I'm out and about. Just leave a message and I'll get back to you. But again, the best way is always through email, and you can leave a phone number and I'll contact you. Our textbook again is Homeland Security and Terrorism, 2nd edition, by Larry Gaines, Janine Kremling, and Victor Kapler. You'll see the ISBN and that information on the syllabus on page 1. But also, before this is posted, you should have been able to go into the bookstore and online store and pulled up the information for the course number by instructor as what textbook is required for this class. Again, we're going to be talking about Homeland Security, a very contemporary subject matter. This is a high-level, 4,000 level class. I think the textbook is well written. I wouldn't have used the first one if it wasn't. We're going to take a comprehensive look at Homeland Security and terrorism. In particular, we'll focus on the creation of the Department of Homeland Security after the 9/11 attacks and the subsequent organizational change, the structure, the mission, agency development within the criminal justice and intelligence community. I mean, Homeland Security is a relatively new government concept within the United States. So we'll look at the roles of the federal, the state, and the local law enforcement and the intelligence community in combating terrorism, what their roles are, what their missions are. There's a lot of really interesting information in this subject. It's a hot topic, and to be honest with you, there's a lot of jobs in this field. So I know you'll take this class serious, and you'll get exposed to a lot of information that may be useful for you down the road. The textbook itself, we're going to look at it in 4 parts. The foundation for Homeland Security. We'll look at Homeland Security and terrorism. You have to really understand terrorism the ideology behind it, why terrorists become terrorists. That helps you really establish effective counterterrorism programs if you understand your enemy. Pretty simple. Defeating terrorist their activities, and we'll look at Homeland Security's response to the threat itself. So the textbook has got some very sensible the way it's set up, and the way the information is put forth to you. And I've added additional information, film clips, things like that I think enhance the learning environment for you. Some of you have been in my class before. I'm a retired federal agent. In addition to that, I spent about 8 years working with the U.S. Department of State's Anti-Terrorism Assistance Program, where I trained law enforcement officers, government officials, and military officials overseas on terrorism-related issues, in particular Homeland Security for their own countries. I've worked in the Middle East, South Asia, Pakistan, Central America, Eastern Europe, places like that. I'm also a veteran, and I welcome any veterans to my class, and also law enforcement officers to my class. They always add a lot of value. This is my 9th year at the University of North Carolina, Pembroke. Now, as far as our weekly activities, this course is going to run from Wednesday, August 15th until Friday, November 30th, and then the week after that we'll have our exam week. Your normal course week, except for the first week and the last week, is from Monday morning until Sunday midnight. So if you have a written assignment that's due, you have that 7-day period to get that done. You'll have a weekly reading assignment in the textbook, and for each chapter I have put together PowerPoint slides to support that. You can get questions from the slides, obviously from the reading, and I've also enhanced the learning with some film clips that I find useful for the classes, and some additional ancillary documents, that I may pull on, say, terrorist statistics that expand on what we're learning in the textbook. Now let's talk about course requirements real quick. Quizzes. You'll have 6 quizzes. I call them exams in Canvas. But Canvas, they use the term quiz. I break it down a little bit differently. But the more important tests are the exams. You'll have 6 of those. That's 70% of your grade. You'll have 4 quizzes. Quizzes usually run from 5 to 10 questions, very short, just to make sure that you're keeping up on the reading. That's 10% of your grade. You'll have 3 Global Terrorism Database reports. Some of you have already used this Global Terrorism Database in the Intro Terrorism Studies class with me. And if you haven't, that's not a problem, because I provide documents and a tutorial on how to extract information from the Global Terrorism Database, which is an open source of information maintained at the University of Maryland, and it's funded by the Department of Homeland Security, and it contains information on terrorist incidents from 1970 to 2017. They just updated the file, so it's we're actually going to get the most current information. Usually runs about a year behind. And you'll also have 2 discussion forums on topics that I'll pick, and that'll be 5% of your grade. So the exams are 70%, quizzes 10%, Global Terrorism Database reports are 15%, and the discussion forums are 5%. Those are the areas of which you will be graded. Tests are open for 48 hours. So if we have a test on Monday and Tuesday, for example, it'll open at midnight on Sunday night and close at 11:59 p.m. on Tuesday night. That gives everybody plenty of time relative to their work or their study schedule to take the test. Most of these tests, the exams will probably take you 50 minutes. That's how much you're allotted. Most people finish them in less time. The quizzes are 10 minutes, so it shouldn't be a problem. There's no makeup exams unless you receive prior permission from me, and you can produce documentation. For example, if you're sick, bring me a doctor's excuse or a clinic excuse to show me that you went to don't just tell me that you were sick, because I need some sort of documentation. Anybody can say, oh, I didn't feel good today. And so give me something that'll support the reason why you weren't able to take a quiz or a test or an exam. if you're in the National Guard or if you're in law enforcement, you get sent out on an operation. Just give me a notice in advance. And then, like for example, National Guard or ROTC, I always get the first sergeant to give you a little note. You can email it to me, and then you'll be excused, and then you'll be able to take the test at a later date. And the reason I do this is I don't want to give people, this is a full class, I don't want to give some people, if they miss an exam, and give them a few more days to study. That's not fair to everybody else. I want a level playing field for every individual in the class. But again, there are times when these things do arise. Just let me know. And it's always better if you let me know in advance. This is a high-level criminal justice class. It goes to show that I have no tolerance for anybody that would cheat in this class. I've done what I can to reduce those opportunities. For example, when you take a test in this class, you're not going to have the same questions as your buddy. I've created question pools for each test, and so nobody will have the same questions. The questions all come from the reading materials in the chapter 1 and 2, say for example, but you will not have the same questions as somebody else. And the reason I do that is to keep people from collaborating and helping each other out. That gives them an unfair advantage over the other students. Everything is timed, and when you take a quiz or a test, you use whatever resources that you can. Everything's available to you. Again, our grades are weighted, and I've given you those weights, and I explain that fully in the syllabus. The syllabus is your roadmap. I will put out a weekly notice of requirements for that week, but you are responsible for keeping up when things are due. So you need to take the syllabus and then create your own personal calendar on when things are due so you don't miss assignments. If you miss a test or you miss an assignment, you're going to get a 0 unless you have an excuse. And that's hard to make up. When you take a test or a quiz, when you finish, you're going to see your grade only. You're not going to see what you got wrong. The day after a quiz closes, let's say a quiz closes at Tuesday at 11:59 p.m., the next day from 12 noon until 8 p.m., I reopen the exam to you. You can go to your individual test. You'll see what you got right and you'll see what you got wrong. And on the ones that you got wrong, you'll see what the right answer is. Now, if there's ever any discrepancy you think that it shouldn't have been marked wrong, well, that can happen occasionally. Not very often, but it could happen. Just send me an email and I'll review it. But again, the day after a test closes, you'll have an 8-hour block where you can access your test. And the reason I do this is pretty obvious. Again, collaboration. Exams will not be proctored. You're not going to have to go to a proctoring site and pay to take your tests and quizzes. You'll take them online. Everybody will do it the same way. I break down as you can see in the syllabus, everything is broken down by week. And I do the same thing in Canvas. So let's look at Canvas real quick here. This is the home tab. And you can see we have 16 weeks. So each module, they call these modules, each module I label by week. So in week 1, you'll be assigned to read Chapter 1, Introduction to Homeland Security. I've included the PowerPoint for that. There's a film on the 9/11 hijacking and 9/11 attack that you'll watch. In addition, these are some administrative documents, the discussion board form rules, professor online testing tips when you take a test. These are some tips of how the test will appear to you, etc. On the discussion boards, the key thing there is, let's stay focused on what we're doing here. You cannot be disrespectful to anybody else. If you are, you're done. You're going to get a bad grade. Nobody's interested in your political viewpoints. If you want to take a political science class, sign up for it, but not in this class. We're just looking at facts. Like, for example, we might talk about immigration. We might talk about the immigration issues in the country. We're going to look at it from a Homeland Security perspective, not from a political perspective, okay? So leave your political comments, keep those to yourself. Nobody's interested in them. I know I'm not, and you're not interested in mine either. So let's keep it focused on the course matter. And that's how the forums will be graded. You won't be able to see what other people write until you post. And so just follow the rules that I've posted in here, and you'll be able to get a good grade on the discussion forums. And they're designed for you to talk to each other. Don't just write to see what you think I want to hear. I want you to talk to each other. I'm going to participate, but minimally, I want you to talk to each other in these forums and have a discussion amongst the individuals in the class. It gets you to know some of these folks and have an open dialogue as best you can in an online class, which isn't easy. So let's go back here real quick. So for week 1, you'll have, those are the things that you can review and read. We go to week 2. Again, I just put the PowerPoint up again here. You'll have your first quiz, and I'll tell you about that. I believe it's only like 5 questions. It only covers 1 chapter. And then the next week, you'll have your PowerPoint. This is when you'll get ready to do your first Global Terrorism Database assignment. I will post that assignment, but here's an overview of the Global Terrorism Database. Here's some instruction document and a practice exercise with the answers I provide. You get used to it. And then on top of that, I put together a tutorial. Some of you have seen this before, where I show you how to go into the Global Terrorism Database and extract data. It's a really great learning tool, and we're going to use it in this class. We'll use it in this class at a higher level than you used it in the Intro to Terrorism Studies class. And then you go to week 4, same deal. There's your PowerPoint for chapter 3. You'll have your first big exam that week, September. It closes on September 5th. So when you see that date, that's the date it closes. It'll be open on the 4th and 5th. And I'll announce that, but it'll also be in your syllabus. And so each week, there's an extra document on the Patriot Act that I've included to have a quiz, PowerPoint. So that's how I've set it up. When it comes to quizzes, you can access the quiz right here on the home page. You can go to quizzes, and you'll see quizzes and exams located there. So there's different locations, assignments. You'll see under the assignment tab. But the easiest thing to do is just go to the home page. You'll be able to link to everything you need on that home page by module. And once you're finished with week 1, you just click this, and it disappears. You go to week 2. So Canvas is real easy to work with. Probably more of a bear for us as instructors to have to get used to it and to migrate our courses. But hey, you got to do what you have to do. So I've tried to set these things up to make it as simple as possible for you. Okay, I think I've said enough here. This is I'm going to end this tape here. I look forward to meeting all of you online and facilitating this class. I think you'll learn a lot about Homeland Security. It's a very hot topic in criminal justice today. End of tape.